Hey, I'm Vadim, and unlike many YouTube channels with Reddit stories, I'm actually a real person, not just some AI. These are my genuine thoughts and reactions, so grab a snack, sit back, and enjoy the stories. And try not to judge my gameplay too harshly. Let's get into the stories. I've been with my fiancé for 3 years, and we've been engaged for just over a year. 3 years of building something together. Shared plans, late-night conversations, quiet evenings that felt like home, and that steady, reliable kind of love I always wanted. The wedding was planned down to the last detail. The dress was bought, everything was in place. Life felt like it was finally falling into exactly the shape I had always imagined it would. My best friend and I have known each other since our freshman year of college. We're both in our early 30s now, which means we've had over a decade of friendship behind us. 10 years of shared memories. 10 years of showing up for each other through breakups, job changes, losses, moves across cities, and every awkward phase in between. He was there when I was at my lowest. I was there when he was at his. I thought I knew him better than almost anyone. This morning, I woke up and reached for my phone. The same automatic gesture every person makes first thing in the morning without even thinking about it. And I saw a message from him. A very, very long message, sent at around 6 in the morning. I started reading, and I couldn't stop. Not because it was pleasant, but because I genuinely could not believe what I was looking at. He wrote that he has been in love with me for years, that this whole time he had been hoping I would break up with my fiancé and finally see him differently, that he had waited and watched and said nothing for years. And now, less than 48 hours before my wedding, he had decided it was time to finally say something. The message literally said, "I needed to tell you before it was too late." And at the end, a request. He asked me to call off the wedding and run away with him. I read it again, and then again. I just sat there on the edge of my bed, staring at the screen. I don't even know exactly what I felt in that moment. It was some terrible mixture of everything at once. Confusion, anger, sadness, a strange kind of disgust. And underneath all of it, genuine grief. Because this is my best friend, a person I trusted completely and without question. And suddenly, I'm sitting here realizing that behind all of those years of friendship, there was something else going on entirely. Something I never felt, never saw, and certainly never encouraged. I started typing a response, deleted it. Typed something else, deleted that too. I went through this cycle more times than I can count. What do you even say to something like this? There are no right words. There's no clean way to respond to someone who just blew up a decade of friendship with one text message sent at 6 in the morning. The worst part? I hadn't told my fiancé yet. I knew I had to, of course I knew. But we were less than 2 days away from our wedding, and I didn't want to drop this on him right now. I kept turning it over in my head, trying to figure out how to even begin that conversation. How to explain what happened without making him feel blindsided or worried or like something was being hidden from him. And to make things more complicated, my best friend and my fiancé had become friends too over the years. They'd seen each other, laughed together, had genuine conversations. My fiancé thought of him as a decent guy. And now I was sitting here realizing that the whole time, this person had been smiling and shaking hands and acting like a friend while carrying something completely different inside. That makes me angry. Genuinely, deeply angry. Because he could have said this to me earlier. A year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, back when I wasn't engaged, back when it wouldn't have been dropped on me like a grenade at the worst possible moment. He had so many opportunities to just be honest. But he didn't take any of them. He chose now, 48 hours before my wedding, as if he thought, what exactly? That I'd read his message and cancel everything? That I'd tell my fiancé the plans had changed? That I'd grab a bag and walk out the door towards someone I have never once felt anything romantic for? I don't want him at the wedding. I just don't trust him anymore. I don't know what state he'd show up in, what he might say, what he might do. And I refuse to find out on what is supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. But the thought of him not being there, that hurts too, in its own way. We have been friends for over 10 years. I had imagined him being part of that day. He was someone I wanted standing in the room when I got married. And now, all of that has crumbled in a single morning because of a message he sent before the sun came up. What bothers me almost as much as anything else is that this is now my problem to manage. He poured his feelings out and left me to clean it all up. That's not fair. It's selfish, and the timing is simply unforgivable. I decided I wouldn't send anything until my fiancé got home from his brother's place. I would show him everything myself. We would deal with it together. That night, when my fiancé walked through the door, I let him sit down first. Then I handed him my phone. I watched his face as he read. His eyes grew wider. His expression shifted, tighter, more tense, more serious. When he finished, I had already started apologizing, and he stopped me immediately. He said I had nothing to apologize for, not a single thing. We talked for a long time. He told me he had always had a feeling the guy might have a crush, but figured he was keeping it to himself and handling it like a decent person. And to be fair, he had been. There was nothing physical beyond a side hug hello and goodbye. Nothing flirtatious, no inappropriate conversations. I offered to let my fiancé scroll through our entire message history, just so he could see for himself that I had never led him on, never vented about my fiancé to him, never said anything that could have been read as an invitation. When things were hard between me and my fiancé, I talked to my mom, not to him. My fiancé asked what I wanted to do. I told him I didn't want him at the wedding. I was worried about what he might do if he showed up. We sat down together and wrote a short message, something along the lines of, "I'm sorry that you mistook my friendship for something more. The wedding is going ahead, and it would be best if you didn't come." To be clear, my fiancé has read this message and stands fully behind my decision to uninvite you. We wrote it that way deliberately. We wanted it to be obvious that this was my decision, not something my fiancé had pressured me into. Because knowing him, he would almost certainly have spun it that way, claimed that I was being controlled, that I would never have made this call on my own. The message sent. I stared at the screen. He read it, and then went silent for a long time. A very long time. I started to feel anxious. My fiancé asked if I wanted to just block him right now. Part of me did, but another part of me wanted to give him a chance to respond. Maybe he'd apologize. Maybe he'd say something that at least made some kind of sense. When he finally replied, the message was long enough that I had to tap to expand it. I started reading, and my stomach dropped. He called me a liar, said I had been stringing him along for over a decade, said he hoped my fiancé would leave me, said he hoped we'd never have children. It kept going. One cruel thing after another. Things so ugly and unfair that I don't even want to repeat them here. I just started crying. Right there, sitting on the bed, I completely fell apart. My fiancé quietly took the phone from my hand and walked into the other room. I think he called him. I'm not entirely sure. I wasn't in any state to pay attention. I just sat there. About an hour later, he came back. He sat down next to me and handed me the phone. He told me that the guy was now blocked on everything, every app, every platform, every possible point of contact. That he would not be at the wedding, that the best man and my maid of honor had both been told what happened and would handle it if anything came up. Something in me just released. For the first time all day, I could actually breathe. Here's the thing. After reading that horrible response, I was no longer sad that he wouldn't be there. Because whoever wrote those things was not the person I thought was my best friend. My best friend wouldn't have written any of that. The person I had trusted for over a decade would not have wished infertility on me in the same message where he claimed to love me. What I saw in that reply was a stranger, and maybe I never really knew him the way I thought I did. The wedding was extraordinary, genuinely, completely, overwhelmingly wonderful. We danced, we laughed until it hurt, we cried the good kind of tears. Every person in that room was someone who truly wanted to be there, someone who loved us and meant it. There wasn't a single false note the entire day. It still feels a little unreal when I think about it. If he tried to show up, I never heard a word about it. We got back from our honeymoon yesterday. I turned on my phone, opened the app out of habit, and remembered that I had promised to update people on how everything turned out. This is how it turned out. I married a man who, without hesitation, took my phone while I was falling apart, handled everything that needed to be handled, and came back an hour later and sat beside me. A man who didn't question me for a single second. A man who, in the hardest moment of that whole week, just quietly did what needed to be done. I think that's what it looks like when someone is really, truly on your side. I am happy. Genuinely, deeply, quietly happy. And I've learned that sometimes you find out who someone really is, not in the easy moments, but in the ones that catch you completely off guard. I found out about 2 people that week. One of them broke my heart a little. The other one reminded me exactly why I was marrying him.